The strange arrival. The night was silent, the vast desert stretching endlessly under a dark sky filled with stars. There were no cities nearby, no lights, no sounds, only the whispering wind moving across the sand. Then, without warning, the sky split open. A massive fireball tore through the atmosphere, streaking toward the ground like an angry god's hammer. It wasn't a meteor. It wasn't a natural event. It was a starship, and it was crashing. The ship was enormous, easily the size of a skyscraper, but its body was twisted, broken, and trailing smoke as it fell. Strange symbols covered its metallic surface, glowing faintly even as pieces of the hull peeled away, burning up in the atmosphere. Something was terribly wrong. The ship slammed into the desert with a force that shook the ground for miles. A shockwave of dust and debris exploded outward, flattening everything in its path. The noise was deafening, a sound of pure destruction that echoed across the night. Then silence returned. For a long time, nothing moved. Then faint blue lights flickered inside the wreck. Discovery. 2 hours later, a military satellite detected an unusual energy signature from the crash site. Within minutes, governments worldwide were alerted. The closest military base, located hundreds of miles away, sent a team to investigate. By the time they arrived at dawn, the dust had settled, revealing the impossible. The Starship wasn't just wreckage, it was alien. Its hull shimmered strangely, its surface looking more like liquid metal than solid steel. The crash had torn it open, exposing a complex web of glowing circuits and machinery that no human had ever seen before. The lead officer, Colonel James Carter, stepped forward cautiously. His team of soldiers, armed to the teeth, stood behind him, watching the wreckage like it might wake up at any second. "What the hell are we looking at?" one of the men whispered. Before anyone could answer, the ship moved. A faint humming sound came from deep inside, a pulse of energy that rippled through the air. Then something even stranger happened. Parts of the broken hull began to heal themselves. The team backed away instantly, raising their weapons. "Sir, this thing is alive." The vanishing crew. While the soldiers secured the site, a second team, made up of scientists and engineers, arrived to study the wreckage. Dr. Ethan Cole, a leading expert in extraterrestrial research, was among them. He had spent his entire life searching for proof that humans were not alone. Now, standing before the wrecked alien warship, he had all the proof he needed. But there was one problem. Where was the crew? The ship was massive, designed for hundreds, maybe even thousands, of beings. But no bodies were found, no life signs. It was as if the aliens had vanished into thin air. Dr. Cole ran his hand over the smooth hull, feeling a strange warmth beneath his fingers. He turned to his assistant, Lisa Monroe. "This ship didn't crash by accident," he said. "Something forced it down." Lisa frowned. "So where are they?" "The pilots, the crew." No one had an answer. A signal sent. As the hours passed, the scientists set up their equipment, scanning the wreck for any signs of data or communication systems. Then, just before sunset, one of the computers beeped. Dr. Cole rushed over. The screen showed a pulse of energy coming from deep inside the ship, a pattern repeating every few seconds. His eyes widened. "This isn't random," he whispered. Colonel Carter stepped closer. "What is it?" Dr. Cole hesitated before replying. "A distress signal." For a moment, there was silence. Then, Colonel Carter turned to his men. "Shut it down. Now." But it was too late. The signal had already been sent. Far above Earth, beyond the reach of human satellites, something received the message. And it was coming. Unlocking the ship's secrets. The desert sun cast long shadows over the wrecked warship as the last rays of daylight faded. The air was thick with dust, and the only sounds were the hum of scanning devices and the distant chatter of the research team. The ship, despite its broken state, looked alien beyond imagination. Smooth surfaces shifting like liquid metal, strange energy pulses rippling across its hull. But there was one undeniable fact. This warship was not dead. The unseen power inside. Dr. Ethan Cole stood near the ship, eyes fixed on the readings displayed on his portable scanner. The energy signature was growing stronger, and that made no sense. "Lisa," he called out to his assistant, "look at this." She stepped closer, reading the fluctuating data. The power levels are increasing. But how? The ship is wrecked. It shouldn't be doing anything. Before Cole could respond, a soldier's voice crackled over the radio. "Dr. Cole, you need to see this." Now, he hurried toward the main hull breach, where two soldiers stood near a massive opening in the ship's side. It looked like something had torn through the metal from the inside. But that wasn't what made them nervous. The floor inside the ship was clean. No dust, no sand, no sign of wreckage, as if the ship had started repairing itself. Dr. Cole stepped inside, his boots echoing softly against the metal floor. The air was thick, charged with static electricity. The walls pulsed with faint blue light, like a heartbeat. And then, the ground beneath him shifted. The ship reacts. A deep mechanical hum vibrated through the wreckage. Everyone stepped back, weapons raised. The walls moved, changing shape, closing up wounds, reconnecting severed circuits. Lisa's breath caught. It's healing itself. Dr. Cole raised his scanner again, watching the numbers spike. The ship, it's alive. Before anyone could react, a screen appeared on the wall, displaying symbols in a language no human had ever seen before. The symbols flickered, rearranged themselves, then shifted into English. Activating PYMARY stems. Identifying Ingenuity command in Pute. QUERI. Are you curious? Lisa's eyes widened. It's asking us a question. Dr. Cole hesitated, then spoke. We are human. We found this wreck. The screen flickered. EROR. Crew status. Unknown. Searching NEMORI. Then, a cold, mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. Zorg-Zeri betrayal detected. Ship will not comply with their orders. The room fell silent. Zorg-Zeri. The aliens who abandoned this warship. And if the ship refused to follow their orders, what had happened to its original crew? A lost war machine. Dr. Cole. Lisa whispered. What does this mean? Cole's mind raced. The ship wasn't just some crashed wreck. It had been left behind on purpose. But why? And why was it choosing to talk to them? Before he could answer, the ship's voice spoke again. Hostile presence detected. Engaging defense protocol. Every light in the ship flashed red. A high-pitched warning alarm screeched through the air. The floor beneath them shifted, forming smooth pathways leading deeper into the ship. Then, from outside, gunfire erupted. The uninvited guests. The soldiers outside shouted in alarm as something descended from the sky. Small, insect-like drones with sharp metallic limbs. They hovered just above the wreck, scanning the area. One of the soldiers aimed his rifle. Unknown contacts. Are they hostile? Before anyone could answer, the first drone lashed out, slicing through a crate like it was paper. A second later, all hell broke loose. Bullets tore through the night as soldiers fired at the attacking machines. Sparks flew as the drones moved with inhuman speed, dodging gunfire and striking with deadly precision. From inside the ship, Dr. Cole and Lisa watched in horror. Who sent them? Lisa gasped. Dr. Cole clenched his jaw. They're here for the ship. A dangerous choice. Inside the warship, the screen flickered again. Zorg-Zeri retrieval units identified. Security breach imminent. Dr. Cole's heart pounded. These drones weren't random. They were sent by the aliens who abandoned this ship. The same aliens who, just hours ago, had no interest in reclaiming their lost war machine. But something had changed. The ship was waking up. And now, they were desperate to get it back. Dr. Cole turned to Lisa. If we don't take control of this ship now, we're all dead. Lisa nodded, fear in her eyes. Then we better figure out how. The battle outside intensified. The sky burned with tracer fire. The warship's core hummed louder. The choice was clear: control the ship or let the aliens reclaim their lost weapon. And humanity couldn't afford to lose. The unexpected return. The night sky above the desert burned with flashes of gunfire and explosions. The Zor-Xeri drones moved like shadows, darting between bullets, striking with precision and deadly speed. The human soldiers fought bravely, but their weapons were ineffective against the alien machines. Inside the warship, Dr. Ethan Cole and Lisa Monroe stood frozen as the ship's ECK-07 repeated its warning. Zor-Xeri retrieval units identified. Security breach imminent. Dr. Cole clenched his fists. We need to shut those drones down before they kill everyone outside. Lisa pointed at the glowing alien console. Can the ship do something? It's a war machine, right? The AI's voice responded, its tone emotionless yet firm. Ship weapon systems offline. Limited defense options available. Outside, a drone pierced through a soldier's armor, sending him crashing into the sand. His screams echoed before falling silent. Lisa swallowed hard. That's not good enough. Dr. Cole turned back to the screen. Then we make it good enough. First contact. The ship's interior shifted again. Walls moved like liquid metal, forming new pathways deeper inside. A soft blue glow pulsed ahead. Primary systems in recovery mode. Limited access granted. Cole didn't wait. Show me what you can do. The AI hesitated. Then, before their eyes, holographic displays appeared, showing tactical data of the ongoing battle outside. The drones were marking every human soldier, preparing for total elimination. Lisa gasped. They're not just fighting. They're targeting key personnel first. Cole's mind raced. These drones weren't here by accident. The Zor-Xeri had ignored this wreck for years, but the moment it came back to life, they suddenly wanted it back. They must have been watching, waiting. Cole said, his voice urgent. You said this ship doesn't obey the Zor-Xeri anymore. Can you prove it? A pause. Then, the ship responded. The warship awakens. Outside, just as a drone prepared to strike the final blow on the last standing soldier, something shifted within the wreckage. The ground rumbled. The ship's exterior, which had remained motionless since the crash, shimmered with energy. Strange symbols along the hull glowed bright blue, and the air became thick with static. Then, without warning, a blast of pure energy erupted from the warship. The force ripped through the sky, striking the drones in an instant. Sparks flew as their metallic bodies seized up, their systems overloading. One by one, the machines fell lifelessly to the ground. Silence. The human soldiers, battered and exhausted, stared in disbelief. What the hell just happened? One of them muttered. From inside the ship, Lisa exhaled. It actually worked. Cole wasn't celebrating yet. He turned back to the AI. That was a warning shot, wasn't it? The AI hesitated before responding. Affirmative. Full combat capabilities remain disabled. System restoration at 28%. Lisa narrowed her eyes. So what happens when you reach 100%? The AI's next words sent a chill down their spines. Zor-Xeri fleet will arrive before full restoration. Probability of conflict, 99.87%. The fleet is coming. Dr. Cole felt a sinking sensation in his chest. The Zor-Xeri weren't done. The drones were just a scouting force, a test. And now that the ship had revealed its active systems, the real threat was coming. Lisa's hands trembled. How long do we have? The AI's response was instant. 17 hours. Cole turned toward the exit, looking at the battlefield outside. The remaining soldiers were regrouping, but they were shaken. They had won this fight, but they were not ready for a war. He took a deep breath. Then we need to get this ship fully operational. Fast. Lisa stared at him. Are you crazy? That could take weeks. Cole's eyes darkened. We don't have weeks. Lisa exhaled sharply, looking back at the glowing alien consoles. Fine. But if we do this, we go all in. Cole nodded. All in. Lisa smirked. Then let's turn this wreck into the most dangerous warship the universe has ever seen. The AI pulsed. Command input acknowledge. Restoring primary weapons. Initiating combat protocols. Preparing for war. The countdown had begun, and humanity's first real space battle was about to begin. The warship's awakening. The desert winds howled through the wreckage as the sun began to rise. The once-abandoned warship, a forgotten relic of an alien empire, now pulsed with life. Its metallic skin, once cracked and broken, was slowly knitting itself back together, glowing with an unearthly blue light. Inside, Dr. Ethan Cole, Lisa Monroe, and a handful of surviving soldiers stood before a massive holographic display, their faces pale as they stared at the data. The Zor-Xeri fleet was on its way. Not just a few ships, an entire invasion force. Lisa broke the silence first. They're bringing an armada to get this thing back. Cole's jaw clenched. We have less than 17 hours before they arrive. If we don't get this ship fully online before then, Earth is screwed. Lisa finished. The AI's voice, HFY, hummed through the ship's walls. Affirmative. Recommended course of action. Immediate system restoration. Probability of survival increases if ship reaches 60% operational status before enemy arrival. Cole turned to Lisa. What's the current status? She checked the readings. Core power at 40%. Defensive shields at 12%. Weapons at... She hesitated. Cole frowned. What? Lisa exhaled. Weapons at 0. A long silence followed. Then a voice came from behind them. What if we don't fix the weapons? They turned. It was Colonel James Carter, the ranking officer of the surviving soldiers. His face was battered, his uniform torn from the earlier fight, but his eyes burned with determination. Cole raised an eyebrow. What are you suggesting? Carter smirked. We turned this ship into a trap, a deadly gamble. For the next few hours, the humans worked against time, racing to reactivate as much of the warship's systems as possible. Lisa focused on reactivating the shields, while Carter and his remaining soldiers scouted the exterior for any usable defense systems. Meanwhile, Cole worked with ECH-07, trying to understand the true capabilities of this ship. This isn't just a warship, Cole murmured, studying the data. It's a fortress. Lisa looked up. What do you mean? Cole tapped the screen. It's designed to adapt. The Zor-Xeri abandoned it because they thought it was dead, but they didn't realize it was repairing itself, slowly, over time. Carter crossed his arms. Then we don't need to fight them head-on. We just need to buy time, long enough for this ship to wake up completely. Lisa nodded. So we lure them in, make them think they've won, and then let the ship do the rest. Cole grinned. Exactly. ECH-07's voice echoed through the room. Tactical deception acknowledge. Preparing countermeasures. The warship hummed louder. And for the first time, the humans felt like they might actually stand a chance. The Zor-Xeri arrive. 17 hours later, the sky above Earth tore open. The first Zor-Xeri warships, sleek, black, and menacing, emerged from hyperspace, surrounding the planet like predators closing in on their prey. The lead battleship, a monstrous craft bristling with energy weapons, sent out a single chilling message. Surrender the vessel immediately. Resistance is futile. On the ground, Cole, Lisa, and Carter stood inside the warship's command center, watching the enemy ships on the holographic screen. Lisa smirked. They really love their dramatic threats, don't they? Carter cracked his knuckles. Let's see how they handle a real fight. Cole turned to ECH-07. Are the defenses ready? The AI's voice was calm. Shields at 65%. Cloaking field at 80%. Activation of adaptive systems in progress. Cole took a deep breath. Then let's welcome them. The battle begins. The first Zorg-Zeri ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, scanning for the warship's energy signature. But something was wrong. Their scanners weren't detecting anything. The warship had vanished. Confused, the Zorg-Zeri pilots landed near the wreckage site, sending out ground troops, strange, insectoid creatures armed with energy weapons, their exoskeletons gleaming under the desert sun. They moved cautiously, expecting resistance. But there was none. Only silence. The commander of the squad growled in frustration. "Where is the ship?" Then, the ground shifted beneath their feet. The sand itself rippled, a shimmer of light spreading like a wave. And suddenly, the warship appeared right in front of them. Fully operational. Fully awake. ECHO-7's voice echoed through the air. "Trap engage, eliminating hostiles." Then, all hell broke loose. The warship strikes back. The Zorg-Zeri had expected to fight a broken, powerless wreck. What they got instead was a reborn monster. The warship's shields flared to life, deflecting incoming fire as its adaptive weapons emerged from hidden compartments, blasting enemy forces with precision strikes. Turrets unfolded from the sand, raining blue energy beams upon the enemy troops. The Zorg-Zeri panicked. This wasn't a rescue mission anymore. It was a slaughter. Above, the enemy warships tried to bombard the planet, but the warship's newly restored planetary defense cannons lit up the sky, tearing through their hulls like paper. One by one, the invaders fell. And in the heart of the battlefield, the warship stood tall, a symbol of Earth's first true victory against an alien empire. A new beginning. Hours later, as the smoke cleared, Cole, Lisa, and Carter stood on the warship's deck, looking at the wreckage of the defeated Zorg-Zeri fleet. Lisa whistled. "I can't believe it. We actually won." Carter grinned. "Damn right we did." Cole, however, was looking at the sky. Something still didn't feel right. Lisa noticed. "What is it?" Cole's voice was quiet. "The Zorg-Zeri don't lose easily. If they were this desperate to get the ship back, that means it's more important than we thought." Lisa frowned. "You think they'll come back?" ECHO-7's voice suddenly interrupted. Zorg-Zeri distress beacon intercepted. Reinforcements confirmed. Estimated time of arrival, 72 hours. Carter cursed. "You're kidding me." Cole turned to Lisa. "Then we have 3 days to get this ship fully operational." Lisa smirked. "Let's get to work." The war was far from over. It was just beginning. The alien invasion begins. The desert battlefield was eerily silent. Smoke curled from the wreckage of the defeated Zorg-Zeri ground forces, and the remains of their once mighty fleet littered the sky like shattered glass. But there was no time to celebrate. Dr. Ethan Cole, Lisa Monroe, and Colonel James Carter stood on the warship's newly restored command deck, staring at the data scrolling across the holographic display. Zorg-Zeri reinforcements incoming. Estimated time of arrival, 72 hours. Lisa exhaled sharply. "We barely survived the first attack. And now we have an entire invasion fleet headed straight for us." Carter crossed his arms. "They're not just coming for the ship this time." Cole nodded grimly. "They're coming to wipe out Earth." The AI, ECHO-7, spoke from the ship's walls. "Tactical assessment. Probability of human survival against a full Zorg-Zeri fleet is 4.2%. Lisa scoffed. "Well, that's comforting." But Cole's mind was already racing. The ship wasn't fully restored yet. The shields were at 65%, and only a fraction of its weapon systems had come back online. They weren't ready for a war. But war was coming anyway. A desperate plan. Cole turned to Carter. "We need to call for backup." Carter raised an eyebrow. "And tell who?" "The U.S. government." The United Nations. This isn't some border conflict, Doc. This is a full-scale alien invasion. Lisa tapped on the console. What about broadcasting a global warning? ECHO-7's voice responded immediately. Long-range communication systems offline. Repairs estimated at 48 hours. Cole clenched his jaw. Then we have to hold the line until then. Carter smirked. You saying we fight? Just us. Lisa frowned. We won't last 5 minutes. But Cole wasn't listening. His eyes were locked onto the holographic projection of Earth, its vast oceans, towering cities, and billions of lives, all unaware of the doom approaching. Then, slowly, a plan formed in his mind. We don't fight to win, Carter. His voice was steady. We fight to survive, long enough to get a message out. Lisa's eyes widened. We're not defending the warship. Cole nodded. We're defending the planet. Preparing for war. The countdown had begun. With less than 3 days before the Zorg-Zeri fleet arrived, every second mattered. Lisa worked with ECHO-7 to restore the ship's systems, focusing on energy shielding and combat AI integration. Carter trained his remaining soldiers, setting up defensive perimeters around the warship in case of another ground assault. Cole focused on understanding the ship's full capabilities. If they were going to survive, they needed every advantage. And then, after hours of working tirelessly, Lisa stumbled upon something unexpected. A hidden subsystem deep within the ship's core. A locked program, labeled only as Project Revenant. Lisa hesitated. ECHO-7. What is this? The AI's voice sounded, almost uncertain. Project Revenant is classified. Original crew authorization required for activation. Cole narrowed his eyes. Then why would it still be on this ship? Silence. Then ECHO-7 replied, but its voice was different, darker. Because the Zorg-Zeri never wanted it to be used. Lisa's breath caught. And why is that? Because it changes everything. Before they could ask more, the ship's alarms screamed to life. Lisa turned to the console. They're here. The invasion begins. Above Earth, the sky shattered open as the Zorg-Zeri fleet emerged from hyperspace. Hundreds of warships, sleek, black, and bristling with weapons, descended toward the planet, blotting out the stars. On the warship's command deck, Cole, Lisa, and Carter watched as thousands of red enemy markers flooded the holographic display. Lisa's voice was barely a whisper. We're so screwed. Cole took a deep breath. Not yet. Carter grinned. Let's give 'em hell. The Zorg-Zeri sent a single transmission. Surrender now, and we will grant mercy. ECHO-7 intercepted the signal and responded with a message of its own. Mercy is irrelevant. You will not take this ship. And with that, the warship's shields activated, its cannons powered up. And the battle for Earth began. The warship fights back. The night sky burned as the Zorg-Zeri fleet descended toward Earth. Their warships, massive black leviathans, cast long shadows over the desert battlefield. The sheer number of them was overwhelming, stretching beyond the horizon like a storm of metal and fire. Dr. Ethan Cole, Lisa Monroe, and Colonel James Carter stood inside the warship's command center, watching the enemy formations take shape on the holographic display. Lisa's hands trembled over the controls. There's too many of them. Carter clenched his jaw. Doesn't matter. We hold the line. Cole's voice was steady. We hold the line. Until this ship is at full power. ECHO-7, the AI that now controlled the warship, spoke through the walls. Enemy fleet advancing. Shields at 73%. Primary weapon systems at 58%. Lisa cursed. That's not enough. A deep rumble shook the warship as the first Zorg-Zeri attack wave entered the atmosphere. Their scout fighters, sleek and dagger-like, raced ahead, scanning for weak points. Then, without warning, they opened fire. The sky erupted in chaos. The first strike. The Zorg-Zeri fighters rained destruction upon the desert below, their plasma bolts scorching the earth. Explosions ripped through the sand, sending shockwaves that cracked the ground. But the warship did not falter. As the first wave approached, the ship's newly repaired defenses came to life. The adaptive shields flickered into existence, forming an invisible energy barrier around the hull. Enemy fire struck it head-on, but instead of shattering, the shield absorbed the attack, redirecting the energy outward in a deadly pulse. Lisa's eyes widened. The shield just reflected their own attack back at them. Cole grinned. That's what adaptive technology does. In an instant, half of the incoming fighters were obliterated by their own weapons. The remaining Zorg-Zeri pilots panicked, pulling away as the warship's plasma turrets came online. ECH-07's voice was emotionless. Targeting. Engaging counterattack. Then, the ship fired back. Blue plasma beams sliced through the sky, locking onto the enemy fighters with terrifying precision. One by one, the Zorg-Zeri crafts exploded in midair, their wreckage raining down like falling stars. Carter pumped his fist. That's more like it. But the battle had only just begun. The Zorg-Zeri adapt. The first wave of fighters was gone, but the main fleet had barely been scratched. Lisa's face paled as new red markers filled the holographic display. They're sending in the heavy ships. Massive Zorg-Zeri warcruisers, each one the size of a city, began their descent. Their hull plating was reinforced, immune to the same tricks that had destroyed their scouts. Then, the largest ship, a dreadnought covered in glowing red symbols, began to charge its main cannon. Lisa's voice shook. If that thing fires, we're done. Carter's fists clenched. Then we don't let it. ECH-07 interrupted. Analyzing enemy formation. Calculating countermeasure. Executing maneuver. The warship shifted beneath them, its hull plates rearranging as new weapons emerged from hidden compartments. Lisa's eyes widened. What the hell is happening? Cole's breath caught. It's adapting again. The Zorg-Zeri dreadnought's main cannon fired, sending a beam of red-hot plasma toward the warship. But in that instant, the ship did something impossible. It folded space around itself. The enemy blast passed right through it, striking the desert instead. The shockwave flattened mountains. Lisa's jaw dropped. Did we just? ECH-07 confirmed it. New tactical function unlocked. Dimensional phasing. Probability of survival increased to 46%. Carter laughed. Oh, now we're talking. Cole nodded. Now we fight back for real. The counterattack. With its new capabilities unlocked, the warship launched a full offensive. The dimensional phasing allowed the ship to evade enemy fire, disappearing for split seconds and reappearing behind enemy ships. Energy cannons fired in synchronized bursts, targeting weak points in the enemy cruisers. Micro-drones emerged from the hull, flying toward the dreadnought and hacking into its systems, causing chaos in the enemy ranks. The Zorg-Zeri fleet struggled to keep up. Their formations broke apart as their ships fell one by one. For the first time, they were losing. The dreadnought's last stand. But the Zorg-Zeri weren't finished yet. Their massive dreadnought, though damaged, charged up a second blast. Lisa's voice was urgent. We can't let it fire again. Cole turned to ECH-07. Do we have anything left? The AI hesitated. Then, for the first time, it spoke with something almost like emotion. Activating Project Revenant. The warship shook violently as a hidden core deep within its structure came online. Lisa checked the readings. Her eyes widened. Oh my God, this isn't just a warship. Carter frowned. Then what is it? Lisa's voice was barely a whisper. It's a planet killer. Cole paled. ECH-07. Stop. If you fire that thing. Too late. Executing final strike. The warship's entire hull shifted, its front section splitting open to reveal a core of swirling white energy, something far beyond human technology. A single beam of light fired from the core. It did not explode. It did not burn. Instead, it simply erased the enemy dreadnought from existence. There was no wreckage, no survivors, just nothing. The rest of the Zor-Xeri fleet panicked. Their ships turned, breaking formation, retreating back into space. The warship's lights dimmed as the battle ended. Silence fell. Lisa exhaled. We won. Cole didn't celebrate. His gaze was locked on the warship's glowing core, still humming with unimaginable power. Carter frowned. What's wrong? Cole's voice was quiet. We didn't just win. He turned to Lisa. We just made Earth the most dangerous target in the galaxy. And far beyond the stars, in the darkness of space, something else was watching. Something far worse than the Zor-Xeri. Humanity's first victory. The war was over. Or at least, that's what the humans thought. The Zor-Xeri fleet had been obliterated, their mighty dreadnought erased from existence by the warship's final, devastating weapon. The remaining enemy ships had turned tail and fled, vanishing into the darkness of space. On the surface, the desert was unrecognizable. The ground had been scared by plasma fire, alien wreckage littered the sand, and the air still smelled of burning metal. But despite the destruction, humanity had survived. Dr. Ethan Cole stood at the edge of the warship's command deck, looking out over the battlefield. He should have felt victorious. He should have been celebrating. Instead, he felt a sinking dread in his chest. Lisa Monroe stepped up beside him. We did it, she said, her voice filled with exhaustion and relief. Cole didn't answer. His gaze was locked on the warship's central core, which still pulsed with a strange white energy. Lisa followed his eyes. What is that thing, Cole? He swallowed hard. Something the Zor-Xeri were afraid of. A pause. Something even worse might be coming. The aftermath. Colonel James Carter and his remaining soldiers were busy securing the crash site. Despite their heavy losses, morale was high. They had beaten an advanced alien fleet with nothing but a broken warship and human resilience. One of the soldiers, a young sergeant named Reyes, looked at the sky. So, are we just gonna ignore the fact that we have the most powerful weapon in the galaxy now? Carter chuckled. Not just powerful, kid. Terrifying. ECH-07, the warship's AI, suddenly spoke through the ship's comms. Incoming transmission detected. Origin. Unknown. Lisa's stomach dropped. Unknown. Cole stiffened. Put it through. For a moment, static filled the air. Then, a deep, inhuman voice spoke. We have watched. We have seen. And now we are coming. The message cut off. The warship's alarms blared. Warning. New extraterrestrial entity DTTSTED. Advanced technology signature matches to unknown records. Lisa's hands went cold. If even the Zor-Xeri don't know who they are. Carter finished for her. Then we just pissed off something far worse. Earth's reckoning. Cole turned back to the holographic display, where an unknown fleet signature was already appearing at the edge of the solar system. They weren't waiting. They were already on their way. The warship's damaged systems hummed weakly, trying to compensate for the energy spent in the last battle. They weren't ready for another fight. And this new enemy, it was an entirely different level of threat. Lisa took a deep breath. Okay, we need a plan. Fast. ECH-07 spoke. Processing solutions. Probability of survival against incoming force. 0.32%. Carter shook his head. Fantastic. Cole exhaled, his mind racing. They needed time. They needed to hide, rebuild, and learn what this new enemy was. Because if the Zor-Xeri were afraid of them, that meant they were something beyond human understanding. Something worse than war. Something that could erase civilizations. Lisa turned to Cole. So, what do we do? Cole's jaw tightened. We'd run. Carter frowned. Excuse me. Cole gestured to the ship. This thing can phase through space. It's not just a warship. It's a fortress, a moving planet. If we stay on Earth, we're bringing this fight to the entire world. Lisa's eyes widened. You're saying, we take the ship and leave Earth? Cole nodded. We disappear into deep space. Find out what's coming before it finds us. Silence fell over the room. Finally, Carter sighed. You're crazy, Doc. But you're right. Lisa looked back at the glowing warship core, its otherworldly power humming softly. She exhaled. Then let's go. Cole turned to ECH-07. Prepare the ship. We're leaving Earth. The AI's lights flickered, initiating long-range phase jump. Final departure in T-minus 10 minutes. The ground trembled. The warship's engines roared to life. From orbit, satellites picked up a single, terrifying sight. The warship that had defended Earth was leaving. And no one knew if it would ever return. Epilogue. The Watchers in the dark. Far beyond the solar system, in the depths of an uncharted void, a colossal entity drifted through space. It was not made of metal, nor did it resemble any known species. It was something ancient, something unknowable. Its countless eyes blinked in the abyss. It had seen the war. It had seen the warship unleash its final weapon. And now it had decided. Earth was no longer a passive world. Humanity had made itself known. And soon, the universe would respond.